Every investor dreams of that one moment, the single decision that changes everything the moment you look back and realize that what seemed small at first became life-changing over time. For XRP holders, that moment might already be unfolding right now. The question isn't just how much XRP you hold, it's whether you truly understand what it represents. So will 5,000 XRP change your life, or will you watch the opportunity pass you by while the world transitions into a new era of wealth? Welcome back to Crypto Equation, where we uncover the hidden truths behind the digital revolution and decode the forces shaping the next generation of millionaires. Tonight, we take you beyond price predictions and speculation to understand the real potential of what owning $5,000 worth of XRP could mean for your financial future. Because this isn't about chasing quick profits, it's about being positioned before history repeats itself. Let's start by putting everything into perspective. $5,000 in today's world doesn't sound like much. It might buy you a new laptop, a few months of rent, or a small vacation. But for those who understand value timing and transformation, $5,000 can become the foundation of generational wealth. Throughout history, fortunes have been built in moments of doubt when the world was distracted and few could see the shift taking place. In the early 1990s, nobody believed the internet would change everything. The people who invested in what seemed like risky ideas then are the ones who never had to work again. The same pattern repeated with smartphones, with electric vehicles, and now with blockchain. Every financial era begins quietly with disbelief, then suddenly becomes unstoppable. And right now, XRP sits at the center of that new era. What makes XRP different from thousands of other digital assets isn't just technology, it's purpose. XRP was designed not to replace the financial system, but to connect it. While other cryptocurrencies fight against regulation, Ripple built relationships with governments and banks because they understood one timeless truth. To change the system, you have to work with it, not against it. That's why when the next financial framework goes live, XRP will already be inside it. The question is, will you? The real power of a $5,000 XRP position lies in timing. You are not buying into a hype cycle, you are buying into infrastructure. The same way the internet needed servers, cables, and software, the new digital economy needs liquidity bridges and interoperability. XRP is that bridge. Ripple's on-demand liquidity is already being used by banks and payment providers worldwide to move value across borders instantly. Each transaction burns a small fraction of XRP, reducing supply forever. Over time, as global liquidity demand rises, the finite supply of XRP becomes more valuable. It's not speculation, it's simple economics. When an asset with limited supply meets global demand, the price must rise to accommodate volume. So imagine holding $5,000 of XRP before that transition completes. At today's prices, that might not sound impressive, but fast forward a few years when institutional demand dominates retail speculation, and suddenly your $5,000 could represent something far more powerful. Think about what happens when XRP moves from a retail market to an institutional one. When banks, governments, and corporations begin using XRP at scale, the value per unit must rise to support the liquidity needs of trillion-dollar markets. This isn't a theory, it's a mathematical requirement. The higher the transaction volume, the higher the value of each unit must be to maintain stability. That's how every liquid market operates. So the question becomes not if XRP will rise, but when the world will finally understand why it must. By 2026 to 2030, the digital transformation of finance will be complete. Central banks will issue digital currencies, commercial banks will tokenize assets, and global liquidity will move through blockchain rails. XRP is positioned as the neutral bridge that makes this all possible. The institutions building this future are not asking permission, they're already preparing. They don't care about daily charts, they care about efficiency, cost, and speed. And XRP delivers all three. The moment regulation aligns, the floodgates will open. The infrastructure is already built, it's just waiting for legal clarity. That's why holding XRP today is like holding internet stock before the browser existed. You are early, very early, but let's make this tangible. What could 5,000 XRP actually become? If XRP were to reach $10, your $5,000 becomes $50,000. At $50, that's $250,000. At $100, that's $500,000. And if institutional revaluation pushes XRP into triple digits, as some liquidity models suggest, that same position could cross the million mark. Sounds unrealistic until you understand the math behind it. The global payments market processes more than $200 trillion annually. Even a 1% share of that flow settling through XRP would require tens of billions in daily liquidity. With a capped supply of 100 billion tokens, most of which are locked or held by institutions, the effective circulating supply becomes tiny. The price must adjust to maintain liquidity efficiency. That's how systems scale. So when people laugh at the idea of triple-digit XRP, it only reveals they don't understand macro liquidity mechanics. They see a coin while institutions see infrastructure. But even beyond numbers, there's a deeper truth here. The value of XRP isn't just financial, it's psychological. Holding XRP through uncertainty teaches you discipline, patience, and vision. It forces you to think like an investor, not a gambler. Every person who held Bitcoin before it broke 10,000 knows that conviction creates wealth. The same lesson applies here. The market will test your emotions, shake your faith, and try to convince you that you're wrong. But the fundamentals haven't changed. The world still needs faster payments, cheaper settlements, and cross-border liquidity. XRP provides all of that in one unified system. This is why major banks in Asia, the Middle East, and Europe are quietly integrating Ripple's technology. They know it works. They just need the right timing to scale. And when that timing arrives, the market will reprice in seconds. You won't have time to react, you'll only have time to wish you acted sooner. That's why positioning matters now, not later. A $5,000 investment today represents foresight before recognition. Once recognition comes, the multiples disappear. Think of it this way. When Amazon was $5 per share, most investors ignored it because it seemed too small, too new, too uncertain. A decade later, it became the backbone of global commerce. The same psychology drives every technological revolution. The few who see the pattern early are mocked until they're envied. XRP is that pattern today. But what will make XRP truly life-changing is not just the revaluation, it's the ecosystem being built around it. The XRP ledger is evolving into more than a payment network. It's hosting tokenized assets, decentralized exchanges, smart contracts, and even carbon credit marketplaces. Every new use case adds utility. Utility adds demand, and demand adds value. Ripple isn't waiting for the future, it's building it. Their partnerships with global banks, fintechs, and governments show a roadmap that stretches beyond speculation into real-world adoption. When you hold XRP, you're not betting on a coin, you're investing in a company's vision to rebuild global finance from the ground up. That vision is becoming reality faster than people realize. As the financial system modernizes, the need for interoperability will explode. Central banks won't build one system to rule them all. They'll build hundreds of CBDCs that all need to communicate seamlessly. XRP is designed to be that universal translator, the asset that connects them all. That's why its neutrality matters so much. It doesn't belong to one country or company. It's open source, global, and efficient. Those are the exact qualities the new financial system demands. But let's step back and address what everyone's thinking. What if it doesn't happen? What if XRP never reaches those levels? Even in that scenario, owning 5,000 XRP can still be life-changing because of what it represents. It's your stake in the future, your hedge against a collapsing fiat system, your entry ticket into the digital economy. As the world moves from physical to digital value, ownership will shift from centralized institutions to individuals. That's the greatest wealth transfer in modern history. Whether XRP hits $10 or $100 doesn't matter as much as being positioned in the system that's replacing the old one. It's not just about profit, it's about participation. That's why XRP matters beyond price. It gives you access to a system where money moves freely, globally, and instantly. It's the foundation of digital freedom. And for those who see it now before the headlines catch up, the potential returns go far beyond financial gain. It's about control, autonomy, and independence in a world that's rapidly centralizing. That's what makes this moment so critical. Most people are asleep while the financial reset happens in real time. Banks are modernizing. Payment systems are merging. Central banks are testing digital currencies. The infrastructure of the next century is being built quietly behind closed doors. And those who wait for confirmation will find out too late that the opportunity already passed. The truth is, by the time the mainstream recognizes XRP's role, the price will have already adjusted. Every major financial transformation works the same way. The early phase is disbelief, the middle phase is resistance, and the final phase is recognition. XRP has already passed through disbelief and is now in resistance. The lawsuit, the media, skepticism, the public confusion, all part of the process. But after resistance always comes recognition. When that day arrives, your 5,000 XRP position won't be seen as a gamble, it will be seen as genius. People will ask how you knew, and you'll tell them the truth you didn't guess you understood. You recognize the pattern. You studied the fundamentals. You saw the world's liquidity crisis and realized there was only one realistic solution. You believed before the world confirmed it. That's what wealth looks like before it's visible. But let's talk about why 5,000 XRP could specifically be the sweet spot for transformation. It's an amount accessible enough for average investors, yet significant enough to become meaningful after a revaluation. Most people think you need millions to become wealthy from crypto, but that's not true. You just need exposure to the right asset at the right time. When the next financial phase begins and digital liquidity replaces traditional banking rails, the assets enabling that system will multiply in value exponentially. The difference is this time the opportunity is global. Anyone anywhere can participate if they act before the institutions finalize control. That's the moment we're in right now. The window is still open, but narrowing. Once full regulatory clarity hits and banks enter publicly, the price action will accelerate. It always does when institutions move in. Look at history. When institutional money entered gold in the 1970s, the price skyrocketed from $35 an ounce to over $800 in less than a decade. When institutions embraced tech stocks in the 1990s, valuations exploded. When they entered Bitcoin in 2020, it jumped from 10,000 to 60,000 in months. XRP will follow the same curve once adoption is official. Because unlike most assets, XRP already solves real-world problems. It's not a concept, it's a utility. Every day that Ripple's on-demand liquidity is used, XRP gains relevance. Every day banks test its corridors, global dependency grows. The more the world adopts instant settlement, the more XRP becomes essential. This is why your $5,000 position matters. It's not just an investment, it's alignment with inevitability. But to fully grasp how life-changing this can be, you need to understand the magnitude of what's coming. The new financial system will tokenize everything, not just money. Real estate bonds, carbon credits, and commodities will exist as digital tokens. Trillions in value will move on blockchain rails. That's not decades away, it's being built now. Financial giants like BlackRock and JP Morgan are already testing tokenized funds and settlement solutions, and they all face the same problem, liquidity fragmentation. That's the issue Ripple is solving through XRP. So as tokenization scales, XRP's value will expand beyond cross-border payments into every form of digital settlement. Your 5,000 XRP position could therefore evolve into exposure to the foundation of the tokenized global economy. Think of it as owning a piece of the internet's backbone before anyone understood how valuable it would be. Most investors will underestimate this transition because they've never lived through something like it. But history's greatest fortunes always emerge from moments of systemic change. In 2000, investing in Amazon didn't make sense until e-commerce took over. In 2010, Bitcoin was a niche experiment until the financial world adopted blockchain. In 2025 to 2030, XRP will follow that pattern as the world adopts digital liquidity as standard. The difference is this time, the transformation is backed by the world's most powerful institutions. Governments are not fighting it anymore, they're integrating it. That's the turning point. When regulation aligns with innovation, value creation accelerates. The US SEC case against Ripple was never about destruction. It was about definition. Once XRP's status became clear, the stage was set for expansion. Every bank that was waiting on clarity now has a green light. This clarity doesn't just legitimize XRP, it legitimizes the entire concept of digital liquidity. Once that understanding goes mainstream, your $5,000 position will sit at the center of a global liquidity revolution. But the transformation won't happen overnight. It will happen gradually, then suddenly. Prices will move slowly until adoption reaches critical mass, then they'll leap. That's how exponential growth works. For years, nothing happens, then all at once everything changes. The world is approaching that inflection point. Financial systems are too outdated to survive much longer. The pressure for faster, cheaper, transparent settlement is immense. Ripple's solution using XRP is the most efficient path forward. Governments won't reinvent it, they'll adopt it. Banks won't compete with it, they'll integrate it. And investors who positioned early will find themselves on the right side of the greatest wealth shift in modern history. Imagine looking back in a few years, realizing that your 5,000 XRP position became your ticket to freedom. Not because of luck, but because of awareness. You understood that wealth isn't built by following the crowd. It's built by seeing what's invisible to most. That's how every generation of self-made millionaires begins. They invest in inevitability before it becomes obvious. You're witnessing that inevitability right now. The transition from traditional finance to digital liquidity is not a question of if, but when. Every major economy is testing blockchain integration. Every central bank is exploring digital currencies. Every corporation is investigating instant settlement. The trend is irreversible. And at the center of it all sits XRP, quietly doing what it was designed to do, bridging value across borders at the speed of light. So when people ask if 5,000 XRP can change your life, the real answer is it depends on your vision. For those seeking a quick flip, probably not. But for those who understand long-term transformation, absolutely yes. Because $5,000 invested in the foundation of the new financial system before mass adoption is the kind of asymmetrical opportunity that rarely exists twice in a lifetime. The risk is limited, the potential is unlimited. That's the essence of smart investing. But beyond money, there's something more powerful happening. By holding XRP, you're part of a paradigm shift. You're participating in the decentralization of liquidity, the democratization of finance, the modernization of money itself. That's something very few people can say. Most will remain spectators, while a few will become beneficiaries. The difference is understanding. Understanding what you own, why you own it, and what's coming next. And what's coming next is clarity, integration, and acceleration. The clock is ticking toward the activation of the new financial era. Every report, every pilot, every regulatory update points to the same outcome. When the switch flips, the revaluation won't be gradual, it will be instantaneous. The price will no longer reflect speculation, it will reflect necessity. That's when your 5,000 XRP becomes something extraordinary. That's when patience turns into power. The future belongs to those who see before the world believes, and you are living in that window right now. So hold your convictions, stay informed, and remember that the greatest opportunities in history have always looked uncertain at first. XRP is not just another cryptocurrency, it's the foundation of the digital economy being built in front of our eyes. The next few years will test your faith but reward your foresight. And when the dust settles, those who believed will realize that 5,000 XRP didn't just change their finances, it changed their lives. Because they saw the truth long before the world did. This is Crypto Equation, reminding you that financial freedom isn't found in luck, it's found in awareness. And your awareness today could be the reason you never worry about money again. Payment systems are merging. Central banks are testing digital currencies. The infrastructure of the next century is being built quietly behind closed doors. And those who wait for confirmation will find out too late that the opportunity already passed.